Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio Top 10 College Basketball Countdown. We've gone over 10 through 6. Now we're going 5 to 1. And we're starting off with a program near and dear to my heart, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Oh, yeah. Roll Tide, roll, baby. Roll Tide, roll. And that is what Alabama basketball is going to do this year. This is an Alabama team that is going to be high energy like they were last year. They're going to be up tempo. They're going to definitely not leave points at the free throw line, which cost them in the NCAA tournament last year. And you may have to expect a little bit of early season defensive regression because this was a dominant defensive team with Herb Jones and John Petty leading the way defending on the perimeter. Well, I'll tell you, Alabama has reloaded, they're ready, and they're hungry. They want cupcakes, and they want them by the six-pack. And with this Alabama team and this scheme that they're going to play, they're going to use a lot of drive and kick. They're going to scramble other teams' defenses so that they're literally running around without their heads on. And of course, when you have the kind of ball handling and one-on-one skill that Alabama is bringing to the floor this year, you want to isolate those defensive mismatches as much as you can so that you can beat your opponent into the ground. And Alabama, they are one of the rare teams that play up-tempo and then try to suffocate and lock you down defensively. So when we look at this Alabama team, you know, it's hard not to recognize how much they lost. They lost Herb Jones. They lost Josh Primo. They lost John Petty, Alex Reese, and Jordan Bruner. Jordan Bruner and Alex Reese are going to be the harder pieces to replace because they brought in Noah Gurley from Furman. They brought in Charles Bediako. I'm not butchering his name. Bediako. He's a Canadian, one of my people. So I'm big on him. I think that he's going to be a type of big man at 7 foot that can run the floor, that is going to be always up for an alley-oop, and is going to give you that good rim protection. And when we talk about replacing guys like Herb Jones, that is going to fall squarely on the shoulders of Juwan Gary. Juwan Gary is a guy that definitely can be a defensive all-pro player. He can be a conference defensive player of the year. He just has to stay healthy. And if he is injured, well, it takes away a big defensive piece from this Alabama team. But fear not. Nate Oates went out. He got Keon Ellis. He got Noah Gurley. And hopefully he gets a healthy Keon Ambrose Hyden and Alex DeCecco soon. With Noah Gurley, you're coming in from Furman, a winning program, NCAA appearances, and he averaged 15.4 points per game and 5.8 rebounds and a couple assists. That's a guy that can take over. That's a guy that can give you that freaking mid-range jump shot on a night-to-night basis, and he's going to be relied upon. Keon Ellis has been raved about by Coach Oates. Coach Oates thinks that this is going to be one of his best, if not his best, defensive player. And if you watch exhibition basketball and you believe what coaches say, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, Keon Ellis has big things to come for him. So last year definitely played a smaller role that he's going to be asked to play this year. And I think that you're going to see a healthy rise in production, whether it be points, rebounds, and steals. But if Alabama is going to have success, if they're going to play that high energy, up-tempo, offensive weapon that doesn't shoot the mid-range, only shoots threes, they got to avoid those cold shooting nights. And when you bring in a guy like J.D. Davison, an Alabama home recruit, this kid is just going to be special. He's got great hair, makes his free throws, cold as ice in the second half in the last 5 minutes. And you're going to see that when you're putting your money on Bama and they're playing tough teams. And they got a tough schedule. They got a tough conference to play in. Playing against Tennessee this year is not going to be like it's not going to be like the Alabama football team playing Tennessee. Let me tell you that. But with Javon Quinterly, with Jaden Shackelford and JD Davidson, you got a trio of guys that are going to play a lot of minutes because you don't have that kind of backcourt depth that you did last year, especially with Namari Burnett being injured and out for the year. He was the guy that could have challenged one of the 3-4 starting role. I think Alabama is going to be fucking with their eyes open. Alabama has the system. They got the defensive philosophy. They got the recruits. And they got the coach to implement it all. So look out for Alabama. Alabama is a team that is going to make you money. You just got to find the right way to do it, and that's usually with totals. And, of course, this is a team that could have national championship aspirations. We just have to watch and see how this team matures. But I'll tell you one thing. Alabama is no $2 cupcake. They're a $10 cupcake. You got to pay heavy money for that. And Alabama, Nate Oates, that backcourt, deserve it. We got a team that plays in the North that's near and dear to my producer's heart. Big Show. You know who I'm talking about. Talk about the Michigan Wolverines, baby. And Michigan, they did some magic work. Moving on from John Beilein, moving to Juwan Howard. And let's be brutally honest. I thought it was a bad move. I thought it was a bad coach. I thought that just because he was good in the NBA in Miami doesn't mean that he's going to be able to coach collegiate. Well, I was wrong. I was very wrong, and I can admit it. Juwan Howard has seamlessly transitioned this Michigan Wolverine basketball program from John Beilein to himself, and he's elevated this program more than I really want to give him credit for. He has brought in lots of recruits. He's implemented a fun, visually pleasing style of play. He's getting kids to the NBA, and he's going out on the transfer market and running shit. Let's not forget also, Michigan had the number 1 recruiting class. So this is a Michigan team that clearly has all the makings of a top 10 team. This team could easily win the Big Ten as long as they stay healthy. And Howard is an elite coach. So it doesn't hurt when you have an All-American 7-foot center in Hunter Dickinson to throw out there and run your offense through. But this is a team that a lot of people are going to view as, well, Michigan's young. They lost a lot last year. Well, Michigan's not that young. They have a very good balance of experience and youth, and they have veteran experience and leadership in the backcourt. Juwan Howard went out and got Devontae Jones from Coastal Carolina. Now, Devontae Jones is a guy that you're probably familiar with from watching Coastal games. Good scorer, number 1 scoring option, a guy that can handle the ball. He can play off the ball. He can score. He can pass. He can facilitate. And he was asked to do a lot at Coastal Carolina. He's going to be asked to do different things here. And let's be brutally honest. If Devontae Jones does not play well, Frankie Collins is there. Eli Brooks can run the point. So there are other options if Devontae doesn't work out. But from my estimations, from my projections, Devontae Jones is going to be a fantastic Michigan Wolverine. The key for Michigan is to really play through Hunter on the low block and to get shooters into positions to shoot. That's what this Michigan team can do. On defense, I think that what we're going to see probably a little less of is better denial at the rim and better 3-point attempt prevention. I still think that there's a good makeup, and I think that the X factor for this Michigan team is going to be the play that you get from your wing guys. Caleb Houston's coming in, a guy that reclassified, a fellow Canadian of mine, so I have high expectations. Dominated for Team Canada, and I think will dominate for Michigan. I think that with Brandon Johns, you saw him really step into that Isaiah Livers role last year, and I expect him to be even more productive. I expect him to be a double-digit scorer and a 5+ rebound a game guy. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to Hunter Dickinson staying healthy, Hunter Dickinson staying in the lineup, getting good point guard play, and allowing these freshmen to develop. You have some sophomores in Terrence Williams and Zeb Jackson that are going to find it even harder to get on the floor this year. And with Musa Diabite, the 6'11" freshman, if you could run him and Hunter Dickinson out on the floor together, not even Purdue's going to be able to stop that. So Michigan has everything that you could want in a basketball program for this season, and hopefully they're going to provide the same kind of joy to their backers as they do to their fan base. So Michigan fucks with their eyes open. I got to salute Juwan Howard. Michigan salute. So, all right, let's keep it in the Big Ten, because the Big Ten is probably the best or second best conference for college basketball this coming year. And we're going to go to another heavyweight, a heavyweight that loves Canadians as well. It's the place where Zach Edey plays, the Purdue Boilermakers. And when we talk about Purdue, well, this is a Purdue team that was one of the youngest teams last year. But now this year, they suddenly have a ton of experience and a ton of system familiarity. And barring a bunch of sophomore slumps, this Purdue team will be competing for a Big Ten title. So when you have that combination of elite coaching, star talent, and the ability to develop young players, well, that's Final Four winning caliber freaking squad all day, every day. And that's what Matt Painter does at Purdue. Matt Painter fucks with his eyes open. He doesn't give a shit what you want. You play his game, you play his role that he determines for you, and you will succeed. Otherwise, you can be like freaking some people that have left unnecessarily. Noel Eastern. But this is a Purdue team that is going to thrive if they can do some very simple things. Keep the pace slow, run a lot of one-on-one for Trevion Williams, find a way to get Trevion Williams and Zach Edey on the floor together without sacrificing rebounding and ability to get back and defend the rim. Jaden Ivey is going to be the X factor in the backcourt for this team. This is a kid that can handle the ball, can operate in the half court, and when you throw him in the pick and roll, he is a very dangerous fucking piece. When we look at this bench for Purdue, that is where the most intrigue comes in. You got potentially 3 or 4 double-digit scorers and a ton of size that you could bring off. You have Trey Kaufman-Wren and Caleb Furst, who are both 6'9" and taller. You have Zach Edey, and then you have Brandon Newman at 6'5", who could be your best three-point shooter this year. He's a 38% three-point shooter and shoots over 40% from the field. Mason Gillis is going to be suspended for the first 4 games, so that is going to give an opportunity to somebody to step up. This is a team that can play 2 big men on the floor. They can play freaking 4 out. As long as you're getting Trevion Williams those one-on-one isolation chances in the half court, Purdue is going to score. They're going to use up that clock, and they're going to probably be good for some full game unders. This team doesn't want to get into track meets with you. They want to frustrate you. They want to take you out of your comfortability. And this is a group that I think will. When you look at that starting lineup, you got Eric Hunter at the point, who's not a flashy guy, who's just going to fucking do enough and be stable and consistent. You got Jaden Ivey, who we've already talked about. You got Sasha Stefanovic, who seems to have been there for fucking 12 years. It looks like he's already getting gray hair. He's a guy that's going to have to really shoot the ball from the perimeter well and early and often. If he's going through some midseason slumps, he's going to lose a lot of freaking rotation minutes. At the end of the day, this is a Purdue team that is exciting to think about watching, exciting to think about betting, and absolutely deserves to be a top 10 Pub Sports Radio college basketball team. So let's move on to 2 special programs and probably 2 of the best programs that I've yet to talk about. And one is Villanova. I can't believe I'm just saying that. I can't believe I'm saying that I love Villanova. But I love Villanova this year, even though they're my UConn Huskies' biggest rivals in the conference, not regionally. But this is a Villanova team that looks loaded once again. The question is this a team that has NBA talent that's capable of winning a national championship? I don't think so. I think that Colin Gillespie would have to literally summon his inner fucking Josh Hart to do that. And with Justin Moore, he has to take another leap for this Villanova team. I just don't think that this Villanova team is going to be able to play the same way that they played last year. This is a group that clearly has to stay healthy. They do not have the depth to really suffer a bunch of injuries. And listen, we've been waiting now 2 years for Brian Antoine to get healthy and to make an impact for this Villanova team. I'm still waiting. If it's not going to be him, it's going to have to be Brandon Slater, because Jay Wright, he does not want to have to resort to going to his freshmen and Angelo Breezy and Jordan Longino. These are guys that are going to be good in the Villanova program in future years, but they don't want to go to them now. Brandon Slater is definitely a guy that is capable of taking that next step forward. He is a senior. He has been familiar in the program. He's waited his time. But at the end of the day, this Villanova team has to stay healthy. They have to get Colin Gillespie to take his scoring up a notch, because even with multiple injuries last year, he still managed to average 14 points. And you have to fucking remember that this is going to be a team without Jeremiah Robinson Earl. They're not going to have that NBA post-scoring threat that they can throw it down to. So when they're running the pick and roll, they're going to have to rely on what old Villanova basketball was all about: dribble handoffs, pick and roll handoffs. And that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to drive and dish. You're going to have to really utilize the type of perimeter players you have. They're not finishers. They're passers to that open look. So I think that could be beneficial, but it also be something that defenses like UConn can plan for and strategize against. When it comes to Villanova, listen, this is a team that's always going to stay patient on offense. They're always going to find the right shot and protect the ball. And on defense, if they can switch that man-to-man defense and not really have a defensive liability from their backcourt, the quality of Eric Dixon and Jermaine Samuel is quality. They have good length, good rebounders, and good freaking in this system defensively. So I think that with Villanova, you may see them use zone. They need to fucking press a little more, and they just got to do a better job of slowing opponents down. Luckily, this year in the Big East, they are going to be going up against quite a few conference foes that are going to want to play that style of basketball, and it's just going to play more and more into Villanova's hand. At the end of the day, this is a Villanova team that I believe is going to win the Big East. They've won the Big East, I believe, 7 out of the last 8 years. I don't expect that to change unless there's some major injuries to Colin Gillespie or someone like Jermaine Samuel. But Jay Wright is going to have this team scoring off the pick and roll. They're going to be doing it with passing instead of finishing, and they're going to score a ton in the paint. They got versatile weapons on the pine if they need to go to them. Hopefully they don't need to. And things are looking good for Villanova. Jay Wright is going to be able to afford new suits. And Jay Wright's going to be eating some cupcakes. Bougie cupcakes. So let's move on. We'll move on to Kansas. Yes, the Kansas Jayhawks could be the best team in the nation that nobody knows about right now, because everybody is definitely giving Gonzaga that throne, that title. But when you look at this Kansas team, if they can figure out how to play some defense, this is a very exciting, explosive offensive team. With Kansas, there are some major question marks. First off, can this backcourt duo of Joseph Yusufu and Remy Martin do what they did at their previous stops in their previous conferences? They're going up against bigger guards in the Big 12, more physicality, better defensive scheme, better overall talent, in my opinion. And with Joseph Yusufu and Remy Martin, those guys are little guys. They're 6-foot guys. So are they going to be able to score in the paint and score near the rim like they've been accustomed to? Or are they going to be forced to make shots from the perimeter? Let's also forget that both of these players do have a major drop off in efficiency and production when it comes to going up against top tier opponents. You can go through the numbers. You can find that out very easily that you see a major drop off. Yusufu, he shoots 50% from the field, but then 27% or so against top tier competition. So going up against the quality in the Big 12 on a night-to-night basis in the conference season could prove hazardous for this Kansas team. But Coach Self seems to believe that these guys are the second comings of former players like Tyshawn Taylor. And I think that the only issue with these guys that I see, because I like their offensive game, I think they're going to be able to get to the rim and score, is that they're a liability on defense. Can they defend? And with Kansas, you watch Marcus Garrett work wonders on the defensive end, guarding and ball hawking. Can this be replicated? I'm not so sure. So I have to be proven wrong. But Kansas is going to have balance. They're going to have depth. They're going to have experience. They have a usable big man in Dave McCormick who is going to stop a lot of rim scoring. And that's going to be key for this defense. Down the stretch, McCormick really blossomed into a very good I would say interior, quick passes, basically. And this is a guy that is going to need to step up. He's going to need to take that next step. I don't really like what they have behind him. Mitch Lightfoot, Cam Martin, Zach Clements, the freshman, who's a top 100 prospect. I just don't see the quality that you expect from a Kansas front court. But once again, what Kansas has going well for them, they bring back Abaji. They got Yusufu. They got Remy Martin. They got Jalen Coleman-Lambs. They still have Christian Braun. And Christian Braun, let's not forget, this is a guy who is a sharpshooter. He's a double-digit scorer. He's not afraid to put his nose and get on that defensive glass, and he's going to give you some facilitation and some defense. So the guard play is going to be strong. The backcourt is going to have a lot of depth. The main question is, can you get production that you need out of Dave McCormick? Can you get 18 points a game? Can you get a double-double from him every night? I think that you can. When it comes to recruits and when it comes to depth on this team, there is redshirt seniors, there are freshmen, there is a good mix of different guys coming from different backgrounds. You have Jalen Wilson coming from a Big Ten school. And even though he's going to be suspended a couple games, I do expect him to be able to be a hot shooter in conference and non-conference. Last year, he was great in non-conference and fell off in conference. I expect him to take a step forward in his development. At the end of the day, this is a Kansas team that is well coached. They have a good scheme. They brought in the right pieces that fit their program. And they play in a conference that they haven't been proven beatable yet. So Kansas is definitely going to be on the menu. Kansas is definitely going to be eating bougie cupcakes and serving cock soup to the books. Kansas is your number one Pub Sports Radio top 10 team.